Hey guys, Sayonel here. In this episode, I wanted to talk about a manga called Orange and the issues surrounding depression and suicide. So if any of that triggers you or makes you feel uncomfortable or, it really gets to you, please stop watching this video now. Otherwise, stick around. But first off, hello 2017. Sorry I haven't been on. I've been really busy lately and I've started going to the gym, so all of my free time has been spent at the gym. And my daughter really doesn't take naps anymore, so I kind of can't sneak videos in between that time anymore. I've had some videos ready, like Let's Plays ready to upload. Well, not really upload. I still need to edit them, but they have not been uploaded, and I don't know if I still want to upload them or not. So we'll see how that goes. Now let's talk about Orange. Alright, this is Orange. There you go. I received this manga last year. It was a recommendation. One of my friends and I went to Tsubasacon, which is over in West Virginia. We went there last year and we went to the manga library, and she was asking questions about mangas for her library recommendations, and they recommended this. So I decided to pick it up and read it for myself. I didn't really get around to reading it until this year. Orange is about a girl named Nahu who's an 11th grader who gets a letter from herself from 10 years into the future. In the letter, her older self wants her to live a life without regrets and has all these little tasks to make sure that she doesn't live with these regrets. Throughout the story, you encounter her friends and a new guy named Kakeru. I really hope I said that right. And issues surrounding with him, and as well as her feelings toward him and whatnot. Now, what makes this book a little bit, I would consider, triggery, and why I'm talking about it today, is it deals with suicide. I'm not going to say I'm not going to say who, what, when, where, why, or how. You're going to have to read it to find out yourself, but it does deal with the issue of depression and suicide. Now, right now, I've only read the first technical 3 books, so I really can't give a full review on it. I'm not comfortable giving a full review on it because I haven't finished it, but I do have, I did get the second book for Christmas, which is, 4, 5, and 6. I did get this one for Christmas, so I will try and finish that. I'm not sure how many's in the collection, like how many collections there are. I think there's 4. I could definitely be wrong. I will put how many's like actually on the screen. So while I was reading this book, a certain thing happened late last year, early this year. Like, it really wasn't talked about early this year, and that was about a girl named Caitlin Nicole Davis. Now, for those of you that don't know who I'm talking about, long story short, it's about a 12-year-old girl who hangs herself and records it. If you want to know more, like in detail about exactly what was going on and what people felt, I mean, you can find it all over the internet. I'm not going to go into too much detail in this video, but while I was reading this, I discovered that on Facebook, and I don't know how it circulated through my Facebook. I think somebody linked it to their Facebook wall, and a lot of feelings kind of started dredging up about it, and thoughts that I had back when I gave birth to my daughter. So I wanted to talk about my past history with depression and what I felt recently. I personally have never thought about really killing myself. That could be because I have a fear of death. So killing myself is not an option. I have fantasized about myself disappearing, but not dead, or going into a coma and somehow waking back up, because again, not dead. But I think my worst depression hit was when my daughter was first born. I had postpartum really bad, and I mean, it was bad. To give you a whole rundown of what was going on going through my head at the time, the first 2 weeks that my daughter was born, I was convinced, like, I I felt like it was real. I was convinced that my daughter was possessed by the devil and she was put here to destroy my life and make me miserable, and as my penance, I am supposed to love her and take care of her, and I didn't understand why I was being punished. Now, I understand that my daughter was not. It was all in my head, but at the time, I was fully convinced that she was possessed, and I was terrified to feed her at night. During the day, I was fine. At night, though, was a completely different story. At night, I would look into her eyes and I could swear all I saw was just black. And I was scared to nurse her. I was scared to get up in the middle of the night. And what made it worse was that every time I did wake up at night, since my mom, she slept in the guest bedroom, my husband, of course, was obviously asleep in bed. All the lights are off in the house. When I left the bedroom to go to her bedroom, I have to walk down a hallway. And every time I opened up the door, I always saw this black demon running down the hallway at me until I flipped the light switch on, then it would go away. And most of the time I was too scared to turn on the lights. I would just close my eyes and stand there and keep telling myself that it wasn't real. I was imagining everything. And it was just pure torture. I, for 2 weeks, cried my eyes out, like just bawling. And it was, in retrospect, I should have sought help at the time, but I was kind of embarrassed because who says that their child is possessed by a demon? Well, by the devil. Who says that? I felt like I was mentally insane and didn't want to tell anybody. So for weeks, I never told a soul what I felt or what I thought, and I just felt like I was going crazy. I mean, there's nothing worse than sitting there nursing your child in a rocking chair and you see hands, like dozens of black hands, just start grabbing around the door frame and trying to pull it off. And just being and telling yourself that even though she's possessed by the devil, you still love her no matter what. And I should have had to convince myself of that. I still didn't tell my mom or my husband anything that I was feeling or what was going on until my mom just all of a sudden one day was like, "Hey, if you need me, I'll wake up. Just say something, I'll wake up and sit up with you." And that was the day everything started going away. I would get up, I would still see the demon running down the hallway, but I would grab my daughter and I would go wake my mom up and ask her to stay up with me while I nursed my child. And she didn't complain that she didn't get any sleep. She sat there right with me and let me nurse her. And then when I was finished nursing her, she would take her and rock her so I could just lay down on the couch and try and get as little of a nap as I could while she tried to get her to go back to sleep. And then once my daughter was asleep, I'd put her back to bed and we would both go back to bed just to wake up in an hour or two just to do it all over again. My mom at the time didn't realize how much that had helped me. It was it was such a relief having somebody there to, it's kind of like when you're scared, you don't want to be alone. And it was so nice having my mom there being pretty much holding my hand, tell me that everything was going to be okay. And I still hadn't told anybody how I felt. Uh, it wasn't until, gosh, it was after maybe a month or two is when I finally told my husband and my mom exactly what was going on. And by that time, I didn't have any of those feelings anymore. I was about to have my postpartum checkup. They had asked me if I needed any postpartum medication. And with everything that was going on in this book and with this 12-year-old little girl who shouldn't have had to feel that way, it just brought up those feelings that I had. Um, on top of having seeing things that I knew that weren't there and having these feelings of, I just wanted to disappear. I just felt like I didn't deserve to be a mom. I didn't deserve anything, that I just needed to just disappear. Now, since all that has happened, I haven't had those feelings anymore. Um, for a couple months after my mom left, she left after the first, almost a month after my daughter was born. If I called them up crying, my mom and dad was down there. The next day they brought cake with them. And my mom, I think deep down, she knew exactly how bad it was. She knew it was bad, but I don't think she knew it was that bad because I never told her I was seeing anything, and I didn't want to scare anybody. I just didn't want anyone to think I was crazy. And since reading this story about this 12-year-old little girl who just up one day decided to hang herself while having it on live video, it did bring back some emotional stuff for me. Deep down, I kind of wished that I was there for her. I know that sounds weird, but being in a situation to where you're seeing things and being kind of sad all the time, since I knew how it felt, I just kind of wanted to be there for somebody else who was feeling that way. Because I was lucky enough to have my mom just kind of sense that something was wrong. I think my husband knew something was wrong, but I don't think he knew what, like, I feel like he didn't know what to do about it. While on the other hand, my mom decided we needed to do something about it. And I'm thankful that she was there for that. I don't know what would have happened if I had continued, the way I was going. I don't know how I would feel now or what I would do or anything else. And I feel maybe she didn't have that support that I had. And what I pretty much wanted to say was, if you're having weird feelings, whether it be suicide or just disappearing, like mine was just disappearing, or just having any depression or feelings of anxiety like that at all, find someone to talk about it with. And it'll, at least for me, it helped me feel so much better. I mean, if it's bad enough to where talking to somebody doesn't help, then seek out medication. I didn't take medication for mine, which in hindsight I should have. I mean, if I ever get pregnant again, my husband and I have already talked about it. My mom has also talked about it, that I need to get on something ASAP and not wait until weeks after my child is born for me to do anything about it. But if, you're feeling vulnerable and you're having those thoughts, talk to someone. Or if, again, like I said, if it's worse than that and talking doesn't help, always seek out some form of help, whether it be through a doctor or through a family member, because things will get better. You could be somebody that's being bullied, whether you be a child at school or an adult. It could be postpartum like mine was. Maybe it's a family situation. You have abusive parents. Or maybe you're bipolar, or you have, something going on in your head that nobody understands. And if any of that's going on, it will get better. You just need to talk to somebody about it. Tell somebody. Don't ever keep it to yourself. Don't let these feelings fester inside of you, because it's not going to help. It's just going to get worse. Once you admit it and talk to somebody about it, whether again it be a family member, a friend, or a doctor, even a total stranger, talking to a total stranger helps too. I mean, that's why they have hotlines and stuff. Sorry about the talk. I know it's a touchy subject. So I see you all next time. Bye!